Shrek is here. G'day guys, welcome to the Noob Spearo podcast. If you're new here, this is the spearfishing show. If you want to get better, you want to learn more, you want to know some of the tips and tricks from legends from around the world, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Noob Spearo podcast. And I am one of your hosts, Shrek. And like I said, I've just touched back down in New Zealand this week. I'm super excited to be back in this part of the world. And Turbo and I are looking forward to rolling forward with lots of good podcasts and blogs coming up very shortly. And today's episode is a little different because we haven't got any interviews in the chamber. So today is a bit of a good look at 99 tips to get better at spearfishing, the audiobook version. And so we've got a selection of tips today that my audio man Pat has put together for you. And it's just a bit of a sneak preview into what our audiobook is like on Audible. And there's a free offer today, so you, hang around till the end of the show and you can get hold of a link to get the book free. And better than that, it's actually when you use the free link to get any book from Audible, Noob Spearo gets some money. So, but it's a good insight into what the audiobook contains, and you'll get a bit of an idea about how Turbo and I went about putting it together based on the first 40 or 50 interviews we did with Noob Spearo, and we've learned a lot along the way, and this book just kind of breaks it down. Look, you can get most of the information by listening to free for the show, and that's perfect. But if you want it in a sort of a concise, actionable format, then that's what we really put 99 tips to get better at spearfishing together for. So anyway, before we get there, quick recap. So like I said, we've had a long break between podcasts, and it's really good to be back. And we've got some fantastic guests lined up. People have been emailing in and writing, and it's great to see the enthusiasm. So look, just off the top of my head, here are 5 interviews that are coming soon. Diego Santiago from Brazil. We've been meaning to get this dude on for a while. It's going to happen. Real character, him and his crew down there in Brazil, and a different type of spearfishing, and we're really looking forward to hearing him. James Rives from Norfolk Island, we got him on. We're going to get him teed up. Greg Pickering, we've had a number of requests for him, so we'll see if we can hunt him down. Glitwin Rubbage in South Africa, and Josh Humbert. These guys have been on the radar for a long, long time, and it's just a matter of getting it organised and teed up. But there are some of the interviews you can look forward to with Season 3, which is about to launch. Some change in the show format, and we'll rejig it, but it'll still be Noob Spearo podcast, and getting some actionable information out of our guests is always kind of our aim, and have a few laughs along the way. But anyway, Kickstarter. Turbo's been working his bum off, and he has shipped about 90% of the books. Incredible cost. I think we spent $4,500 just on Australia Post sending the rewards out. So it gives you an idea about how expensive it is. People complained about the cost of shipping, but we looked at it, and it's just horrendous. We had some cost blowouts, that's for sure, but it's still good. We're still stoked. We ran the Kickstarter, and we were able to launch this this book, and a labour of love, and so is the Spearo log. Both of these books are available in a few other places now. If you go to today's show notes, noobspearo.com/turbo rules, I will have a link there where you can go and buy the PDF version, and it's $12. And you can buy it without going through any of the crowdfunding sites. And if you want a copy of 99 Tips to Get Better at Spearfishing, you can still buy it on Indiegogo.com. Or you can just email Turbo at Noob Spearo, and he can probably work out a way to send you a PayPal invoice or something. But anyway, thanks for your support with that. Right, let's get into some shout-outs. I have a number here. Jason Laramie says, just listen to my first Noob Spearo podcast. It's heaps better than another spearfishing podcast. And he said, love David Hoshman's interview. Wow. Yeah, that was a cracker. So that was a great interview with him. Matt Herbert, Mad Dogs, he says on iTunes, giving us a review. Shrek and Turbo pump out really helpful and informative interviews with some international freediving and spearfishing legends with a ton of humour thrown in. Just by filling in some driving time listening to their podcasts, I've improved my spearfishing knowledge and confidence tenfold. Keep up the good work, you mad dogs. Awesome, Matt. Love it. That's the sort of feedback we like, but even if it's negative, that's fine as well. If you have any complaints about the show or I say something foolish, which happens often, always email your complaints to Turbo at Noob Spearo. He loves to hear about them and just take action, giving me a dressing down. Also, our ebook is available on Amazon. But it's not illustrated like the Kickstarter book. The 99 tips we got photography from some of the best photographers in the world, and that's kind of where the book come from. But you can buy just like an information only format on Amazon. Woody wrote, "This book will benefit noob and experienced spearos alike. The information in the book is original and well organised from sources including many legends in the spearfishing community. Also tune into their podcast. Their interviews with experienced spearos are pure gold." So thanks for that, Woody. And that's about it in the news today. If you are organising a spearfishing event anywhere in the world, or you have an article that you think we should share with our community or a bit of news, you can always email me an audio clip of yourself talking about an event that you would like Spearos everywhere to know about. So just send them into shrek@noobspearo.com. But it's been great with all the fan mail lately, with packages arriving and stuff. So just wanted to say thank you, guys. And look, let's get into this episode with a selection of tips, and you can get a real good idea into what our audiobook on Audible is like. So here it goes, the first section. Sometimes it's time to spend some money on yourself, and there's nothing like a new spear gun. That's right. Head over to spearfishing.com.au and check out a big range of spear guns. Get tempted and read the customer reviews and really sort of have a look at what they've got to offer. Turbo and I love the Mani-Sub roller guns. You can buy them at spearfishing.com.au. Go in and check out the spear guns. If you do decide to buy something, pump in the code NoobSpearo at checkout and save $20 on every purchase over $200. If you do have problems, they have a hassle-free returns policy, cheap shipping rate worldwide, and a price beat guarantee for Australia. You can also check out the stores in Brisbane, Sydney or Melbourne and get help from more than 40 underwater experts. Online, they also have live help. You can talk to people online and ask any questions you might have about products. So head over to spearfishing.com.au and check out a huge range of spear guns. Tip number 20, better hunting technique from the Weddy team in New Zealand. When snooping snapper, make sure the sun is behind you and you swim slowly into the current, looking and sneaking over every rock. Generally, snapper will flick their pectoral fins out just before they bolt away. If they do this, it's time to shoot or they are gone.
Tip number 63, essential skills, float line awareness. Before and during your dive, make sure you're not going to become entangled in your rig line, because this will cause tear-offs and frustration, and even worse, you could be dragged down by a large game fish. I've witnessed a mate's rig line get looped around his snorkel with a 20 kilogram, 45 pound plus fish running for the hills, and the resulting friction as it bound on the snorkel was an empty spear and no fish. Returning to the surface at the end of a breath hold and shooting large fish is time for extra care. Yes, hopefully you have a dive knife in easy reach. However, big fish move more quickly, and by the time you cut the rope, it might be too late. Maintain awareness of your float line at all times. Make it a focus and reduce the learning time. Float lines are still safer than reel guns for most forms of spearfishing starting out. If guys are running gun reels, they should back it up by also including a belt reel to clip off to in the event of being spooled.
Tip number 84, peeing in your suit. There's no health risk to peeing in your wetsuit, says spearfishing.com.au and Turbo. Most people don't realise that urine is sterile. Unless you have an infection of the urinary tract, like Turbo, the more water you drink, the less smelly your pee will be. The worst you have to fear is a case of diaper rash if the urine stays against your skin for several hours. And this too is less of a problem when the urine is diluted. Solution: open your wetsuit underwater and rinse it between dives. Therefore, pee away, Turbo says. Just make sure to wash your wetsuit thoroughly. Tip number 24, better hunting technique. Exploit the blind spot. If you are trailing a mackerel, there is a common Jedi mind trick that you can play on them provided the force is strong within you. When you are trailing the fish, angle across behind the fish from left to right into its blind spot, and the fish will change course slightly so that it can get a good view of you. Do it again and the fish should turn harder towards the opposite side, presenting you with a broadside shot opportunity. Most species have a specific area of restricted vision that can be exploited. Observe and exploit.
Tip number 13, increase bottom time. More streamlining tips, the gun tuck. Picture a soldier with his rifle beside his body. This is the way to maintain minimal profile in the water. Reducing your profile as much as possible will help to remove drag. Anything sticking out is energy and therefore oxygen wasted. Keep your knees straight when kicking. This helps minimise profile. Keeping straight knees is also the most efficient finning technique. Wayne Judge says Spearos not only have to study their quarry and terrain, they also have to develop a breath hold and economical finning technique. It is the breath hold and the good technique that will give them the depth and downtime. Look at your own profile in the water and make continual efforts to streamline. Pay attention to both your equipment and your technique.
Tip number 30, better hunting technique. Free burley. Unless you're on an extended dive trip or in shark-infested waters, the guts from dispatched fish make great burley. When you use the gut contents of a recently speared fish, other fish of the same species will often become interested in its stomach contents. What that fish has been eating will be in its digestive tract, and in this way, what you begin to burley will be exactly what they want to eat. I have taken large spooky parrotfish and spangled emperor in exactly this way. Guts and viscera can be very effective burley.
Tip number 79, dive log. Keep a log of every dive along with good notes. Seriously, this might sound a bit ponderous and boring, however, this will pay big dividends in the future. Seasonal variations of species, visibility and current are often regular and recreatable scenarios. Here is a list of the type of information you might like to record. Time and date, tide, flood or ebb, high and low, wind speed and direction, swell information, moon phase, water clarity or visibility, water temp and variance, observations about species, benthos, rain in previous days, etc. Sign up to our mailing list at noobspearo.com and we'll let you know when our official Noob Spearo dive log comes out.
Okay, so you guys are starting to get some sort of idea now of what the audiobook is like, and it's sort of stripped back to basics, just the tips and the information you need to kind of improve. One thing we've noticed with learning spearfishing is that we try and compress too much into too short a time, and you can't do everything all at once. So one of the best things you can do when you're reading our book or listening to our book is just to take one tip and really just think about how you can integrate that into your spearfishing. You know, Ant Judge has got a program that he does with freedivers where they just work on improving the 1% things. And you know, if you can do 10 of those things, then your diving will improve, you know, remarkably. And using the information from this book is exactly the same as that. So here it is. Here's another selection of tips. And like I said, hang around to the back end if you want to get the link to the Audible trial, where you can get the book free or any other book on Audible as well. Tip number 34, common difficulties, pre-dive day tips. The 5 Ps, prior planning prevents poor performance. The day before any dive trip, follow a system to pack your gear. Make sure it's all in working order and it's all there. If you sign up for the floater email at noobspearo.com, we give you a dive day equipment checklist. To further highlight the need for planning, here is an excerpt from Ryan Balworthy, aka the Armed Snorkeler. On one of my first shore dives, I was way up in the Coromandel in the north of New Zealand. I had only just gotten into the sport and I was really keen just to get in the water for a dive. On the morning after arriving, I was up bright and early and walking to the beach for a shore dive. Before I knew it, I had shot a nice kingy, and I was being towed around in about 3 metres of water with fairly heavy surge and rocks close by. I made a number of mistakes that day, but the biggest one was assuming everything would be sweet as. I failed to check the conditions, so I got fairly pummeled swimming out through the surf. I also made the mistake of going by myself. I had never dived that area, nor had I ever shot a kingfish, so admittedly I screwed up royally there. To top all that off, my gun was only 90 centimetres and my float line was poor quality. It was also too long and attached to a small buoy, much like you see attached to crayfish pots. As you can gather, it's probably somewhat of a miracle that all didn't go extremely pear-shaped on me. Nevertheless, after getting wrapped up in my float line, washed onto the rocks and dragged around by the kingfish, I found myself swimming back into shore, having landed the fish. I could talk about the potential hazards of all the mistakes I made that day, but the biggest thing I must emphasise is don't assume she'll be right. Spearfishing is not the sport for assuming all will be sweet. Be organised. Thumbs up or thumbs down or the old not sure shaky hand to indicate how good the footage was. This will save so much time in the editing phase. As many know, the task of going through hours and hours of GoPro footage trying to find the good stuff is tedious business. This technique can save the editor heaps of time by allowing them to scroll quickly to the end of each clip rather than having to watch through every dive to see if there is anything worth using.
Tip number 67, essential skills. Have and be a good dive buddy. Love him or hate him, you're going to need this guy and he might just save your life one day. Your dive buddy is the guy that you meet on the rocks on those cold winter mornings after he's already called 5 times, making sure you're out of bed. He takes photos of you holding up your catch and generally helps you to keep the stoke. More importantly, he's the guy on the surface that watches you make every dive. He makes sure you don't black out. A good dive buddy should also know the signs of blackout and be drilled in rescue techniques. Tip number 73, caring for your catch, filleting fish. Sharp knives and lots of practice will eventually get you filleting fish well. Noob Spearo has a great tutorial on YouTube to help you start. Also, if the whole crew is into the filleting gig, at the end of a trip, you can make short work of the filleting by dividing the tasks up. One can knock the fillets off, one can skin and portion, another can label and bag. Labelling fish is a great idea. Recently, I had a bout of ciguatera poisoning due to the multiple species shot. I had difficulty isolating exactly which species had caused the symptoms. It's a great idea to label your catch.
Tip number 6, increase bottom time, relaxation. Before you even get to the spot, do some full breaths to stretch your lungs and get your body prepared for diving. On the surface, close your eyes and concentrate on releasing all muscle tension. Hold your gun lightly in your hand and breathe slow, deep and even. Go with the current and use the boat rather than swimming against the current when possible. A good buddy on the surface who's got your back will also help you to relax more. I know if Turbo's got my back, I'm screwed, but if it's Champ, he'll look after me. Plan your drops. If you are diving in current, then get dropped off just that little bit further up current so that you have more time to prepare and get relaxed. Simon Tripp says, "It's taken me years to learn to relax, and I still think there is more to learn." Proper relaxation is a lifelong focus for both the hunting and freediving facets of spearfishing. Tip number 10, increase bottom time, streamlining. Water is more viscous than air, so hydrodynamics play a huge part in increasing your bottom time. Wings in on the way down, lock your elbows into your body and minimize drag. This is only for those of us that don't possess the blessed hands-free equalizing ability. Water is over 700 times denser than air, so failing to work on streamlining means a diver is working too hard and using too much oxygen. Guys, I hope you got some actionable information just out of that short selection from the audiobook, and whether you go and grab it or not, at least hopefully today you got something actionable. Like I said, just dial in on one piece of advice at a time and don't try and overload yourself. Just get that one thing right and it'll serve you well. It's the same thing with equipment. You shouldn't ever, jump into the ocean with 5 new bits of equipment on at a time. Just change one thing up at a time, and then you can really make sure you've got a handle on it before you bring on the next bit, because small changes make a huge difference in your diving, and you'll know this if you've had any issues with a mask or a weight belt that slides up and down your hips. These small things can cause a huge amount of problems or can really make a difference in your diving, so just encourage you to do that. Okay, so the link to get this book free is audibletrial.com/Noob Spearo. So that's audibletrial, AUDIBLE trial.com/Noob Spearo, NOOBSPEARO. Now head along to audibletrial.com/Noob Spearo. You can get our audiobook free or any other book free, as well as a 30-day trial membership. And I read books, or I listen to books on there all the time. It's a great way to pick up things. If you like the podcast, the audiobook format is just a complete natural next step, and when you actually use our free code, you're directly supporting the Noob Spearo podcast. So, but anyway, we don't have an interview teed up for the next fortnight, but we will be on the case because Turbo and I are mad keen to get into season 3, and we've got a whole list of fantastic guests that we want to get on the show. And look, if you love the show and you want more, you're always up. Welcome to leave us a review on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you listen to the radio. It's now available on Spotify as well. So if you like using Spotify for music, or your mates use Spotify, it's easy to get them to check out the Noob Spearo podcast on there. Thanks for listening today. Like I said, you can find the links as well at noobspearo.com/turbo rules, or go to audibletrial.com/noobspearo and get hold of the book free. Good luck with your spearfishing this weekend or next week, and we'll talk to you then. Catch ya. Now, today's show was proudly brought to you in partnership with spearfishing.com.au. Adreno have also put together a code for listeners of the Noob Spearo podcast where they can save $20 on all purchases over $200. That's right, punch in the code Noob Spearo when you buy your next spear gun or wetsuit at spearfishing.com.au and save yourself $20. It's a no-brainer. Shop with our sponsors Adreno at spearfishing.com.au and support the Noob Spearo podcast.
Shrek, we got a deal for the listeners from Spearing Magazine, mate. What's Spearing Magazine like?
Oh, it's up in lights. It's amazing. It's Katy Perry on a swing. It's hot dogs. It's the Red Sox in May. It's everything America. We get the best stories from around the world as well, but it's spearfishing, watermen.
Okay, cool.
Phenomenal. Amazing.
Yeah.
Talented
cool,
people.
man.
Pictures. My God.
Yeah, I get it. It's big. It's great. It looks good. It's well written.
SpearingMagazine.com. Hoorah.
Yeah, okay. So what's the deal? What's the deal you have for listeners?
It's not just any deal, Turbo. It is SpearingMagazine.com. 8 issues. 8 issues is phenomenal. Amazing.
Yeah, 8 issues for how much?
$30 US plus shipping.
That's actually really good. That is phenomenal. You were dead right.
Turbo, it's so cheap. I can't even do the math on this. It's just amazing.
Well, it's $3.75 an issue plus shipping, but
it's $30
anyway,
US for 8 issues, Turbo. That's all anyone needs to know. Just email Jeremy at SpearingMagazine.com.
How do you spell that?
Jeremy, Jeromy at SpearingMagazine.com.